from a ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Welcome to the GCN show.
Welcome to the GCN show.
Coming up this week, it's the bike brand apocalypse. Tough times for the industry with more brands going pop in the last week. So we hear from an industry expert to try to predict the future and also discuss whether it actually matters for bike riders.
We've also got an 11-year-old news story that we've rehashed because we didn't exist when it first came out, an unlikely twist in Chris Froome's career, and a brand new giveaway. This week in the world of cycling, we learned that some of the world's best male pro cyclists took part in a rickshaw race without checking if said rickshaws had any brakes.
Yeah, even Chris Froome was probably wishing he had disc brakes at the end of it, as riders were literally hanging off the sides and dragging their feet on the road to slow down.
We also learned the routes of the 2024 Tours de France, which look really blooming good.
They do.
Don't they? But most noteworthy, perhaps, is stage 9 of the men's event, which features 32 kilometres of gravel.
Yeah, that's it. Gravel, which led EF team rider Nilson Paulus to hit his local dirt jumps on a mountain bike for training.
And interestingly, Si, from Paulus' Instagram, we also learned that while bar ends haven't made a return yet, bar middles have.
I noticed that as well. To be fair, those are actually the same width as when you had the bar ends.
40 centimetres.
Basically, yeah.
On a serious note, we also learned that the winds are still very much against the bike industry. Last week, the iconic Islabikes, who I think it's fair to say have over the last 18 years completely revolutionised kids' bikes, announced that they are ceasing production.
Yeah, this is, they said, due to turbulent and difficult conditions for the bike industry as a whole. And I've got to say, I'm absolutely gutted by this.
I am as well, because not only have their bikes given my kids so much joy over the years, it's also a brand that's absolutely had its heart in the right place.
I think so, yeah. Totally agreed then. Then, hot on the heels of that announcement, Wiggle CRC confirmed that they were entering into administration.
What this means is that to the customers, it's technically still business as usual, but suppliers and creditors are likely to be very out of pocket, as going into administration gives Wiggle CRC breathing space from creditor enforcement notices.
Yeah, so the impact from this could be huge for the industry. To find out more and try and work out the implications, we caught up with an industry expert, Wayne Brown, who is the head of Shift Active Media, a leading cycling communications agency.
Also known as our mates down the road.
Yes. So Wayne, what's actually going on in the industry at the minute? Why are we seeing so many brands in trouble?
Well, it's difficult to give a really short answer to that because I think there are multiple factors that are impacting the cycling industry. I guess if I were to point to three major things. One is the sort of positive and now negative impacts of this sort of pandemic and the post-pandemic world and lockdowns, and could go into a little bit more detail about that, but that's certainly created a huge surge in demand, and now we're seeing that actually there's kind of less demand there, but lots of products have been made. The second one, which is probably a little bit more acute to the UK, but we're seeing this globally, following the war in Ukraine. Obviously, there's been acute pressure on cost of living, more so in the UK, but that is affecting other markets, especially in Europe. And at the same time, as the cost of living crisis, I guess we're just seeing sort of people being a lot more cautious about kind of what they want to spend and where they want to spend it because there's got a lot less money in their pocket. And then I guess thirdly is the, availability of money to control inflation, which has been, rampant in some parts of the world. People put up interest rates, which means it's harder to borrow money. And then at the same time, investors who were previously looking to invest in cycling are now thinking, well, actually, I want to invest in companies that are already making money rather than companies that are growing, for instance. And so that big change has meant the availability of money has put some companies under pressure, and really they've had to think about how they operate in a different way as a result of that.
It feels then like perhaps there's a bit of a perfect storm going on here. I've certainly heard it said that conditions now are unprecedented in the bike industry. Have you got a sense of how many other brands are in peril at the minute?
I mean, to pick up on the conditions thing, I think, I've not been in the industry long enough to know, but certainly, obviously, the impact of a pandemic is definitely unique. That's not something we've had in the last 100 years. So I think that, combined with those other factors that I mentioned, has created a perfect storm. And the fact that cycling was such a winner during the pandemic and lockdowns, and then now is people have got other things to spend their money on, and we're not obviously any restrictions on what you do, that we've seen this kind of huge influx of stock, and then I guess a softening of demand that was specifically linked to the pandemic. So I think lots of companies are going to be struggling with that set of circumstances. Whether there are other companies that are likely to go away, I guess the simple answer is probably yes. I think most people in the industry think we're probably 12 months into a 24-month challenging period. So we're sort of halfway through it. And I think that what we probably saw is some companies that were on the edge of profitability and sort of struggling before the pandemic, but had a little bit of a boost, if you like, from the impact of COVID and the increase in cycling, are likely now to start to be in trouble again, especially if during that period of growth they kind of overstretched themselves to a certain extent and almost saw that pattern continuing, when actually in reality it's starting to go down. The ones that I think will probably come out more successfully are those who remain conservative and cautious, even in the face of large growth, and have therefore kind of been able to manage their business in a kind of more consistent and sustainable way. And I think those brands will do better in the long term.
Do you think the size of the brand has got like a protecting factor, without obviously knowing balance sheets and stock lists and things? But the big brands, the Treks and the Specialized, the Shimanos, do you think they're going to be okay?
I think, this isn't banking, so it's not like a company's too big to fail. But on the other hand, I think size and scale does really help, because if you think about it, those bigger companies, firstly, they control the route to market. So they not only manufacture, assemble the bikes, but they often are then also selling those either direct to consumer, or they're now owning shops in many of those cases. So they're controlling the supply chain. So there's less pressure there as well. And then I guess secondarily, they've often got kind of large regional scale as well. So they're kind of working lots of different markets. So if it is more challenging in the UK, for instance, at the moment, because cost of living crisis and also Brexit has particularly impacted the UK, they've got many other markets who can take up some of that additional pressure. And then I guess a lot of the bigger brands are in multiple categories. So e-bikes, for instance, even though in the UK sales are probably bit more challenged, around the rest of the world they're still in high growth, double-digit growth. So as long as they're exposed to the right number of categories and they've got global presence, then they're less likely to fail than I think perhaps more niche players who are operating in a single segment or operating in one geography.
Okay, so that a ray of light perhaps, but overall still for the time being a slightly gloomy picture for the industry. But does it actually matter to consumers?
Well, I'll just come back on the bit about the green. I think long term the trends are really good. Like, people are going to want to get fitter and healthier and stay and ride bikes longer. So I think the long term picture is actually still very good. But in the short term, and especially for consumers, and I think actually, obviously, it's very good for consumers right now. There are a lot of bargains there. Wiggle CRC brought their Black Friday promotion forward by 4 weeks, and so there's some really good offers there. So I think in that sense, it'd be good for consumers in the short term. But in the medium term, we're going to see great brands that riders and cyclists, genuinely love and care about, maybe not being available to buy anymore. And I think more importantly, perhaps than that, and more significantly than that, is that actually these brands are staffed by people who are often riders who care about cycling as much as we do, and they're going to be looking for new jobs and actually finding those jobs in a market that's contracting. So I would spare a thought for the people working in the industry, as well as kind of what that might mean to the consumer. One final point though, I do think that actually the trends long term are really good. I think all around the world people want to get fitter and healthier and want to spend more time outdoors, and they want to and we also got to change the way in which we commute and decarbonize our society. So in that sense I think the trends are good, and I think that this is probably just a sort of 2-year blip that we need to navigate through, and then I think we can get into a period of growth again after that.
Great stuff. Thanks, Wayne.
I was actually quite buoyed up by the end there. Wayne's final point about long-term trends being good, because ultimately, as we found out in the video about doctors prescribing cycling, everyone knows that at a population level we need to be more active. Everyone knows that we need to decarbonise. But to the next year or so, I don't know, I'm torn.
Well, it is a bit doom and gloom right now. I don't think I've ever been of the opinion that this is going to last for a really long time, because I think every industry goes in peaks and troughs, doesn't it? And we're currently in a very hard period in our sport of cycling in the industry. But we will get out of it. But like you said, it is the people that are caught up in it right now who might be losing their jobs at various places. That's not going to help them out to know that it will come out the other end necessarily.
No, that's it. But as Wayne said, for consumers, for enthusiasts, we do finally get cheaper products again. And hopefully that will be a long-term shift and they end up becoming cheaper again as a reset. I just can't help but thinking, what were we thinking in 2020 when it was like this would carry on?
Well,
All
nobody
those
knew what
brands
to
that
think.
forecast. Well, I know that's it, and it, you know,
Because at the start of that, it was very much doom and gloom. And there aren't many bike companies on the stock exchange, but those that there were, they dipped down massively and they rose beyond any highest level that they'd ever had before.
yeah.
But had to make forecasts on such a year, which was completely out of the ordinary, where of course you had so many people wanting to get out, get exercising, be indoors and exercise on indoor trainers, bikes, etc. To make forecasts based on an anomaly like that, I think it was a bit foolish, probably.
Well, that's it. It's easy to be critical, though, isn't it?
Oh, totally, yeah. I'm not blaming anybody, but it's always easy to look back in hindsight and say, well, that was foolish to do that. But when you're in it, you want to believe that this is the new trend. People have been forced to find cycling, and therefore they're all going to be as addicted as we are forevermore, and we're going to continue to sell this amount of product each year, and it will continue to trend upwards.
Yeah. I don't know, because I only really know about one thing, and that's bicycles. But I suspect we're not alone in the world. And I know that, I suspect that because I bought a paddleboard along with gazillions of other people. And I don't think my paddleboard would ever wear out because I'm
No.
not an avid paddleboarder. I mean, I love it, but when I go out on it, 4 times a year. But how many other people did that during lockdown?
Well, I never need to purchase another 5 kilogram dumbbell. So there you go.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to wear out is your bicep, isn't it? Your 5 kilo
Yes.
dumbbell.
Yeah, the bicep industry's thriving. I mean,
Oh, there we go. Anyway, let us know what you think about this. Is it a positive thing? Now we've got discounts again, cut price group sets, half price bikes coming out of our ears. Or are you going to be sad if your favourite brand goes to the wall? Get involved in the comment section down below.
And now it's time for cycling shorts.
Cycling shorts now, and we'll start by coming back to the race that we never knew we needed. Rickshaw racing with pro cyclists.
how have we got this far in life without knowing there was this level of entertainment to be had? So the dream team of Mark Cavendish, Chris Froome and Peter Sagan had a bit of a nightmare.
They did, yeah.
They lost out to Pogačar, Ciccone and Philipsen.
The young pretenders versus the, middle-aged men, can we say now?
Yeah.
Pretty much. And we should point out that this was an exhibition event over in Singapore. All in good fun, but not only was it hilarious to watch, it's actually given us enough caption photos to cover the GCN show until 2026. And as mentioned, despite the lack of breaks, everyone did actually survive.
If you were on a rickshaw with no brakes, which of those pro cyclists would you want on your team to help you survive?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, if I wanted to go fast on a rickshaw, I'd go for Pogačar, I think.
Yes.
I like a sprinter would be good to get you up to speed, but you want sustained effort. But
Yeah.
I honestly think that if I was on a rickshaw with no brakes, I'd want Sagan.
Oh, I was going to go, I'd go with Sagan as well.
Yeah, because he's got the
You're in
skills.
safe hands there, aren't you?
That's it.
For
And,
accelerating and braking.
and you can
everything in between.
imagine, he's still got that action man vibe where he could hang off the side, dragging his feet on the floor. So yeah, no, Peter Sagan.
Well, there you have it then. We are both going for Peter Sagan.
That's good news for Sagan as well, because whilst he might not be road racing as fast as he did, he's still got it, hasn't he? Whatever it is.
Yeah. Going back to Chris Froome though, he has got a new bike. I think you noticed, didn't you?
yeah.
So it's a collaboration that we weren't expecting. But Paul Smith has designed a limited edition finish for Chris Froome's Factor Ostro.
That's right, the Paul Smith, designer Paul Smith, which, he's long been a fan of pro racing, hasn't he? He's been in a couple of GCN Plus features, actually. But Chris Froome doesn't strike me as his typical muse. Do you know what I mean? Like no Wiggins,
Are
no
you trying to
Cav.
say he's not stylish enough for Paul Smith?
Yeah, I am. But since that's the one thing that I have in common with Chris Froome, I feel like I can get away with it.
I bet you can do more chin-ups though than Chris Froome. What are you up to? 2?
2.5.
2.5?
Technically,
Another
yeah.
step forward.
Perhaps I should post a video online, like you did,
Yeah.
and throw the challenge out to Froome, see if he could beat me.
I reckon I'd actually pay a couple of quid to watch Chris Froome try and do pull-ups or chin-ups, if I'm honest. In fact, this should be some sort of pro road cyclist off-season competition, shouldn't it?
Shit, who is your money on?
That's a good question. I reckon Lorena Wiebes and Wout van Aert.
Wout van
are the
Aert.
best. Yeah.
He'd be in with a shout at a medal, wouldn't he? Let's face it.
Yeah,
but
maybe
probably
not
not golf. Anything Wout van Aert can do, Mathieu van der Poel can do slightly better these days.
Least push-ups, I reckon, would be Wout pulls. Imagine those long, very thin levers dangling from a bar trying to pull himself up.
Well, I mean,
In fact, I'd probably pay more to watch that than I would do to pay to watch Chris Froome try.
Honestly, mate, when I heard you were starting to do chin-ups and pull-ups, in my head is basically Wout pulls. We better move on, hadn't we?
Probably a good
Much as
idea.
we want to talk about chin-ups.
I'm getting far too into pro cycling pull-ups, aren't I?
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to an oldie but a goldie then. Those of you who've been watching the GCN show for a few years may remember us talking about an event called the Pittsburgh Dirty Dozen. It's a race with a difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because riders tackle a 55-mile route, but they're only timed on the climbs themselves.
Yeah, like a proper enduro, that isn't it? There are 13 climbs, including what is apparently the steepest street in the US, Canton Avenue. Short, but 37%.
Ouch.
Yeah, literally ouch, because it was wet there on Saturday when the event took place. So there were plenty of riders who ground to a halt, then either failed to unclip before hitting the cobbles or couldn't actually get up on their SPD shoes.
Great. Anyway, this marked the 40th edition of the event, which was founded by Danny Chu. So we just wanted to say congratulations to all of the competitors and also to the organisation of what has always looked a fantastic event, hasn't it?
Yeah, you said as well, you come out of retirement for that, haven't you? So there we go. Right, now some news from 2020 to
Yeah, I was going
2012.
to say, you can't have news from 11 years ago.
Well, I mean, I've only just seen it. And also, to be fair, it was from before GCN started.
Yeah.
So I didn't spend quite as much time looking at that sort of stuff in 2012. But I did see a link on Biking in LA to a study from the Direct Line car insurance website.
Oh, one of my favourite car insurance websites.
Yeah, I prefer Churchill with the dog.
Oh, the dog.
No, anyway, the study was conducted for Direct Line by Bunnyfoot, who are apparently psychologists and human-computer interface experts, and actually still in business. I did check, because it was a long time ago. The study followed 100 motorists from various different British cities and used eye-tracking technology to monitor actual driver behaviour.
And from our perspective, the most worrying part was that on average, those 100 motorists failed to spot 22% of cyclists on the road. There were some discrepancies, weren't there?
Yeah.
In London, the average was 30%, whilst younger drivers were the worst offenders, failing to spot 31% of cyclists.
Yeah, alarming statistics on the face of it. But equally as alarming was the statement from a spokesperson at Direct Line who said that blaming motorists for this would be the easy option, but that the issue could only really be addressed if both motorists and cyclists accepted responsibility.
So we need to accept responsibility for being seen, rather than the responsibility resting on the driver to see us?
Yeah, apparently so. And this is in spite of the fact that the study went on to say that the drivers could often be seen focusing their vision on clouds, buildings, and passers-by.
So we're in a battle against clouds to be seen. Happy days.
Yeah.
Now, if you haven't seen Sunday's video from the gravel season finale Big Sugar, you really should.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And as if our word wasn't good enough, Cashew Newbie Doma also gave our gravel newbie Chloe's first race a share on Instagram as well.
I know, I feel like we've actually made it. A celebrity endorsement for a GCN video.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
All right, we'll finish cycling shorts with two bits of giveaway news. Firstly, the 5 winners of the Endure Gore-Tex jacket and transition bib shorts from Gore. Drum roll, please.
Jan Seignitzer, Chris Pike, Mike Mardell, Sam Armstrong and Brian DeLorme.
Congratulations to all of you. You weren't expecting that,
No, I
were you?
wasn't. No, not at
You'll be
all.
receiving your prizes very soon. Now, though, on to our brand new giveaway, which comes courtesy of Mous.
Yeah, so we've got 25 Mous interlock phone cases and bike mounts to give away.
We have. You can find a link to the competition in the description below, which will give you all the information that you need to enter. Entries for that close at 10 a.m. GMT on Friday the 10th of November, and winners will be announced in a GCN show from Tuesday the 14th of the same month.
That's right, yeah. There are some exclusions in terms of where you can enter from, so apologies for that. Those phone cases are the ones that Ollie had in the how-to video from last week. How
Yeah,
to
he's
use
nicked
phone.
them all, hasn't he? We couldn't find any left in the
I know, we wanted to be able to demonstrate, but Ollie has got them all.
Unbelievable.
I
Isn't
know,
it?
yeah.
Right, let's finish cycling shorts with a bit more news of our own then, because the Black Friday sale is coming up fairly soon. But before that, we've got like an early access for VIPs.
Who is VIP?
Well, to become a VIP, all you need to do is sign up to the GCN newsletter, and
Oh,
then
wow.
you will get information as to how you get the early access of the Black
No
Friday
way.
sale.
That's
yes.
the kind of VIP that we could be.
Yeah,
isn't it?
we've not been. Well, it is, yeah. We could sign up for the newsletter. We've not
Yeah.
been told exactly what's going to be available.
No.
It's not one-on-one pull-up lessons with me, unfortunately, or indeed with Wout.
How much is that worth?
Not a lot. Not a lot. It's not from Wout pools either.
No.
But we've heard a rumour it might be something to do with Castelli clothing.
Whoa, nice. There you go.
Yeah.
Wout pulls up. Could be his new nickname.
Very good.
Thanks very much, yeah.
I can't think of anything else. Next up, it is hack /Bodge of the week. A reminder, you can get involved in this part of the show. All you need to do is upload your photos of hacks or bodges to the GCN app. This week, the first submission comes from Wesley Woolard. No, you said...
I thought Woolard. No, Woolard.
Oh, no, you did say Woolard.
I did think
we've
Woolard.
just been discussing pronunciation of Woolard.
That's how seriously we take pronunciations here on GCN. We really do.
When travelling with my bikes, I use an old contact lens for lube and carbon paste. Works great.
Okay, firstly, I really like it as a kind of like, what an amazing use for old contact lens cases. But also, I'm in awe that you travel with grease and carbon paste. Like why? Like I don't know why you would need that, but I think it's great that you do.
I have seen the use of a contact lens container before for people out riding with sun cream, I think.
Have you really?
I'm pretty sure we've had it on the show, haven't we?
I must have been away that week.
I've also seen them used for contact lenses.
Have you really?
Yeah.
That's not really a hack or a bodge if it's got a contact lens in it. I think that's a hack then.
I'm going with hack as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
And very well organised.
Absolutely.
91% of voters said that was a hack.
It's right up your street, that level of organisation, isn't it?
It
You're
is.
like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Right, next up, we got this one, actually from a Lloyd. Lloyd 4000. Out on the trails.
Name and age.
Out on the trails with my son, 5 miles from home, when his rear gear cable snaps out the rear derailleur. We hear this a lot. Never seen this one before though. Took the cable out of the shifter, reattached the rear derailleur, adjusted to a mid-range gear, but then used the rack bolt to hold the cable in position. Defo a bodge, but a great get-you-home hack.
Well, hold
says
your
Lloyd.
horses, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen that used either. But I wouldn't have thought to have done that if I was using a bike with a mudguard boss.
No, I think that's really cool actually. And there's a lot of cable there left over, but yeah, anything that gets you home when you're not in the 11 is a hack.
It's a bonus, isn't it?
It might be,
You're
yeah.
not stuck in the 11. Well, I'll go with hack as well, contrary to what Lloyd thought it was himself.
Yeah, there you go. And 77%, of you lot thought it was a hack as well. So we're off to a good start, aren't we?
We
this
are.
week?
Next up, no pronunciation debate here. MJ Butt. I'm going to have to paraphrase, I think. It's a rather long submission.
That's an essay, isn't it?
Is,
Crikey.
Shall
I take a minute to read it?
Just thought I'd share this hack bodge roof rack I put together a few months ago on my way to London, to Glasgow from London. Using 2.5 metre lengths of aluminium tube. The main support was riveted. I'm not doing a very good job of paraphrasing.
No, not
I'm
really,
basically
no.
just reading the whole thing and only reading out certain words.
Should we come back to you in about
It's
4 minutes' time?
Very boring for the viewer. I used an extra support via a spare wheel mount and Velcro straps. After multiple commutes to the road and TT circuits in Dumfries, I found the strap was fairly redundant. No issues with the rack over 1,200 plus miles. Everything stays as it should. I feel like I've paraphrased so much I've missed out the key points.
I think so.
Bodge.
Basically, someone's made a roof rack, haven't they, for a tandem?
Yep.
A custom-made roof rack. Which, if you make a custom roof rack and the bike doesn't fall off for 1,200 miles, I'd say that's probably a hack, wouldn't you?
I would go with hack for that one, but partly because I've seen what the results are.
Go on then.
92% hack.
Whoa, that's
that
pretty
much
good,
of a
isn't it?
majority, it's probably going to be a hack, isn't it?
Absolutely. Good job you've got a long Mini, by the way, as your car there, because otherwise that'd be hanging over the edge, wouldn't it?
You wouldn't want a retro Mini for that, would you?
You would not, no. Next up then, we got this one from Fat Man Dan.
That's another one of my names.
I was going to say, this is weird, isn't it? Alternative use for a product most parents will have in their house. Unfortunately for my kids, the Lego monster truck is now out of action. Oh my word, yeah.
It looks
look at that.
really neat, that does, I would say.
Yeah, so for those of you that haven't played Lego in the last few years, that is a wheel for a Lego monster truck. But yeah, that looks well neat. Although, how is it not spinning around? I suppose if you've got a big enough washer on the nut there, on the bolt, you can just clamp it in there.
Or just super glue on the wheel.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No,
I presume
that would
that's
work
what you
too.
meant, the wheel spinning around as
Well, yeah, I
opposed
was
to
gonna
the
say-
grip of the light on the wheel.
As a wheel, you would have thought it would just naturally.
They do tend to rotate. don't
Yeah, I mean those Lego monster trucks can be pretty fast.
they? Yeah, some have ceramic bearings.
Exactly. I like that. I think that's wicked.
Yep, I do as well. Was that hack across the board today from us? I think it might have been.
It is, isn't it?
Crikey, might be even a first for that.
Yeah.
Normally we're pretty harsh with one or two. And it's also a hack from 81% of voters.
My
What a positive
word.
hack or bod section this week.
Oh, I feel quite uplifted
Yeah.
after that.
Well, let's bring it down for the next section.
And it's time now for Caption Competition, that part of the show where you get a chance to get your hands on a coveted GCN Elite water bottle. So, frankly, we're not going to take things down a notch because this is still a great bit of show.
It is, yeah.
Freebies.
Yeah, I
up
was
for
lying.
grabs. Yeah. Now, all you got to do is put a witty caption in the comment section down below that relates to a photo we're going to give you in just 1 second, but we'll start, as always, with the results from last week, which had Archaea Samsic looking like they were having a bit of fun pretending to be in a bus.
Yeah, David Decker is the person at the front there that's driving the bus.
It's a single decker. See,
crikey.
Hank didn't give me that reception last week when I dropped that one in. Just went over his head. No, he didn't notice it.
Anyway, the caption winner this week is Lazarboyman8003, who put Caption Comp, the team have truly embraced transparency on their carbon footprint.
Nice, I like that. With the UCI going to be mandating carbon neutral cycling teams in the near future, that probably is going to be the end of team buses, isn't it?
Could be, yeah. I mean, that could add to the total kilometres of a grand tour, couldn't it?
Well,
You've got to get to
absolutely.
your next hotel.
I mean, if there's anyone that could do without a car, it's a pro cyclist, you'd think.
True.
As long as they're all without cars, it'll be fine. Okay then, get in touch, Lazarboyman8003, and we will get your GCN Elite water bottle out to you. Dan, what have we got this week?
This week we have this picture, which is Chris Froome and Mark Cavendish in a rickshaw competition, as mentioned earlier.
And you did say that we had enough caption photos to get us through
exactly,
to 2026.
yes. So this is the first of those. Next week we'll have another one, and so on and so forth. I will get you started.
Right.
This is me being Mark Cavendish. Don't you dare call me a sit-on sprinter.
If that needs some explanation, a sit-on sprinter is a rider that never does any work in a group. They never do a turn, do they? They just sit on because they know they're the fastest in the group. So as soon as you get to the finish, off they go. So a sit-on sprinter is a little bit... I mean, if you win a race, that's great, right? But a sit-on sprinter is a little bit, it's a bit of an insult, isn't it?
Yeah, it's infuriating, isn't it? Although I was a bit of a sit-on sprinter without the sprint.
You just sat on,
Yeah, just hiding.
Just sat on. Anyway, there you go. That is if we don't get some of the best caption competitions ever
for this
with
photo.
this photo,
I know it's a cracking photo.
It is
I mean, this might sound slightly strange, but I can't stop looking and zooming in at this photo.
It's amazing, isn't it? Oh. Yeah, I mean that. Maybe it doesn't need a caption. That photo on its own is just good enough.
I mean, even the footwear. You'd only need to look at the footwear to know which one was Mark Cavendish and which one was Chris Froome, wouldn't you?
Hey, what's Froome got on his feet?
I don't know, but I don't know what they are, but they are exactly what I would expect Chris Froome to have on his feet.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul Smith must be regretting his choices, surely.
Well, maybe it's not just his bike that's going to get a makeover. Maybe the whole of Chris
Yes.
Froome is suddenly going to turn up looking super dapper. Anyway, there we go. Yeah, get stuck in, and we'll read the best one out next week.
We will shortly let you know what's coming up on GCN and GCN Plus over the next 7 days. But first up, a few comments from last week's video, starting with the GCN show. S. Wox put massive kudos to Nubia Doma for choosing a personal experience as her best day on the bike rather than a professional one. Speaks so well of her character. Whilst Felipe wrote, "You have to love Kasia, such a nice person."
Yeah, she came across so well. And, as we mentioned earlier, the fact that she was in Chloe's Big Sugar thing and then, shared it on Instagram as well. That's just super cool, isn't it? Mama Mooney, going back to the donut holder, said that Ollie might need to test the helmet-mounted option in a wind tunnel. So I think that would be a good idea, actually. No one's actually 3D printed a helmet-mounted donut holder for Ollie yet, but we are waiting, actually, for that. Anyway, and when we do, Ollie will take it to the wind tunnel. Connor will follow because he'll want the donuts when he's finished.
Yes, there won't be donuts on there for long, will there? Bike Tribe 7071. Management should suggest that Hank wear a baggy, wrinkled pink T-shirt the next time he hosts the show.
If anyone can wear wrinkled pink T-shirts, it's Hank. And actually, whilst it might have been baggy on Hank, it's actually just a normal size T-shirt, wasn't it? It's just
he's just quite small, isn't he?
He's just quite small. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, and then Aaron War or Aaron War, said nutrition advice. So this is in reference to the fact that we recommended an energy gel last week after cycling shorts. So Aaron said, I'd recommend a balanced intake of carbs, fatty acids and electrolytes with a hypertonic drink, i.e. beer and a packet of crisps for the GCN show. So yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah. Have a beer and a packet of crisps now, see if you get through to the end. You're almost there.
We should have a beer and a packet of crisps as well, shouldn't we?
Well, we should.
That'd
I've
be
been
nice.
saying this for 11 years.
It's true. Yeah, what are we doing with ourselves? Right, next up.
Under beginner versus USA's roughest gravel race, loads of compliments for Chloe.
Oh, my
in
word,
the comment
yeah.
section. We picked out a couple of those. Mad Mick 9205, absolute respect to Chloe, a brilliant achievement. Jason Konopinski, well done Chloe, got a bit emotional alongside with you. It's a big accomplishment and you should be well proud of yourself.
Absolutely. I felt a bit emotional at the end there as well.
It was a fantastic achievement.
Well, it was, and it was like Alex's really heartfelt thing about, you know, how Chloe just completely underestimates her own abilities on a bike. And I was just like, oh, that's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you haven't watched that one yet, I know we've already talked about this, but go watch it. And then under how long can we hold record climbing pace up Sacalobra, Flatspin Man said, this was great, short to the point and really highlights the difference between excellent normal people and the top of the world tour. And yeah, it really does, doesn't it? When you see like how fast they go up. And then, last one as well. William Sylvia, I liked how they blew past two mortals on their right, saying, I'm done. I'm sure they were thinking to themselves, WTF. I'm sure they were as well, actually. But yeah, anyway, that's another cracker, so do make sure you check that one out.
Right then, on to what we've got coming up on the channel this week. On Wednesday, we have Zone Training Explained.
Oh yeah, I worked long and hard on that one, mate. Hopefully you like it. I think it's a good one, actually. It responds to a lot of people's comments under our previous training vids with Dr. Inigo San Milan and the like.
Okay. On Thursday, we have a video in which none of us feature. It's the top 5 most powerful cyclists in the world.
I know, that's weird, that, isn't it? And on Friday, Connor made a bespoke hill climbing bike, which is probably not what you think, but actually, weirdly, was faster. So yeah, he successfully modified a hill climbing bike. I mean, I think you'll just have to see it to believe it. It's one of those. On Saturday, Hank's perfect Italian gravel ride, which does actually look stunning. And then on Sunday, we're excited about this one, aren't we, mate?
Well, I haven't seen it yet, but I am excited.
So this is one of the most iconic bikes of all time, actually. A total game changer, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically my Velo S3, which I was requested to bring in and forgot, but thankfully was coming back to the office the next day, so I did bring it in.
Yeah.
I was training on it in 2011, but I raced on it in 2010. I think it's the one I did the Tour de France on. Pretty sure it is.
Who were you racing for back then, mate?
Velo testing.
Oh, yeah, cool.
That's not been mentioned for years.
No, it hasn't, no.
Because the joke got a bit old, didn't it?
It did.
Maybe it's getting to the point where it's...
Gerard Vrooman, who we interviewed, one of the founders of Cervelo, rehashed that joke for me, though, which was brilliant. So, anyway, yeah, I do check that one out, actually, because it was pretty cool. It was a pleasure riding Dan's old bike, and it was an eye-opener, actually, as well. So properly cool.
And I'm pleased, because it needed a clean, didn't it, for the video?
Yeah, it
so
is,
now
yeah.
Getting a cleaner, so it's dusty, basically, hadn't been used much.
Yeah, and we found a posh set of wheels for it as well.
Which
yeah.
I'm hoping to keep, but I won't be able to. Right, in terms of what racing we've got coming up for you live on GCN Plus this week, it's mainly about, well, it's winter sports cycling, isn't it? So cyclocross. On Wednesday, so tomorrow, it's the Koppenberg Cross. So everyone knows what the Koppenberg's like. They have to race up it multiple times. It's brutal. Do not miss that, even if it's on demand. The weekend is the European Cyclocross Championships from Pontchâteau in France. And we've also got round 3 of the UCI Track Champions League, which will take place in Paris after a round in Berlin and a round in Mallorca.
That's right. And then the documentary which is being released this week is from our Heartland series. This time we hit up Boulder in Colorado, being shown around by Ruth Edwards, who was Ruth Winder and a long-time professional cyclist, who actually, since filming that, is going to make a return to the pro peloton, isn't she?
I hadn't even heard that.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. Who's she signed for? She's actually just signed for Human Powered Health.
Yeah, the reason I was looking at the laptop then was we just looked it up. I'm supposed to be all over racing news. I have had a week off work, but I completely missed that.
Yeah,
I
well,
didn't even put it on yesterday's racing news show.
There's been a lot of transfer things, but coming out of retirement is a biggie, isn't it? So
Yeah.
that's super cool, isn't it? But anyway, she shows us around Boulder, which is her adopted hometown and an absolute heartland in the States, isn't it?
It is, indeed. Loads of professional cyclists come from Boulder, don't they?
Yeah.
Right, well done to all of you who've had your packet of crisps and a beer for getting through to the end of the GCN show for another week.
That's right, give it a big thumbs up if you have got this far. We do appreciate that, don't we?
We do.